Welcome to the Female Fight Archive. This time the theme is Onna-Zumo. You might think this is just women imitating men's combat sports. But if you watch this video all the way through and discover the secret behind Onna-Zumo, you're sure to change your mind. Before we get into the main topic, I just want to say this. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. If you enjoyed watching this video all the way through, please give it a thumbs up. First, let me briefly explain the rules of sumo. It's a combat sport fought within a circle with a radius of 15 feet, drawn on this square clay platform you see here. If any part of the body other than the soles of the feet touches the ground or steps outside this circle, the wrestler loses. Simple, isn't it? This video of an Onna-Zumo match generated by AI contains a critical error. Here it is. The woman in the red kimono's right foot appears to be outside the circle. In other words, at this point, she has lost. There is one more point that differs from the facts, though it is a minor one. In the Edo period, Onna-Zumo was not performed while wearing a kimono. It was performed while naked. In the Middle Ages, sumo was a pastime for the nobility, but from the 16th century onward, it became a form of entertainment enjoyed by the samurai class and the common people. Onna-Zumo were essentially sexual spectacles similar to strip shows. Next, let's delve deeper into the history of Onna-Zumo by looking at the 1,500-year history of sumo. This is an illustration based on the earliest account of sumo found in the Japanese historical text, Nihon Shoki. That account is believed to describe events that took place around the 4th century. It's no wonder Emperor Suinen was puzzled. The story goes that the two men kicked each other fiercely, and the winner then stepped on his fallen opponent's hip bone, breaking it. This would be unthinkable under the rules of sumo as we know it today. The next mention of sumo in that history book is in this article. Read it vertically from the right. It is written that Emperor Yuriko, who had a capricious and cruel side, stripped the women serving at court down to nothing but a belt and made them wrestle to distract them, in order to sabotage the work of a craftsman he found insolent. There is no account of how the women fought back. However, they must have at least succeeded in distracting the craftsman. Emperor Yuriko attempted to execute the craftsman on the grounds that he had been distracted while working. That's unreasonable, isn't it? Currently, many people in Japan believe that the first recorded mention of sumo refers to its origins, and a shrine has even been built to venerate the victor, a man named Nomi, as the god of sumo. However, Pretty Fighter, the host of this channel, seems to have a different view. He believes that the rough-and-tumble fighting style of Nomi is not sumo, and that women's sumo, as described in an article about Emperor Yuriko 100 years later, may be the origin of modern sumo. His hypothesis is as follows. Before the imperial family came to rule Japan, this country was teeming with dozens or even hundreds of small village-centered states, and it was female shamans who led those small states. Nearly 3,000 years ago, after rice cultivation was introduced to Japan from China, people began to settle down and expand their living areas. Settlement and the expansion of living areas give rise to friction among small nations, Rice cultivation, in particular, requires secure access to land and water sources. Disputes over these resources likely escalated into conflicts between nations.
こうなれば力比べで勝負しようぞ。おお、望むところじゃ。
Although it's a sort of substitute for war. If they keep fighting like this every time, they might end up seriously injuring their precious shaman. That form of combat naturally gave rise to more moderate rules, rules that closely resemble the original form of wrestling and have spread primarily throughout Asia. Here is a summary of his hypothesis. Regardless of whether this hypothesis is correct, it is an indisputable fact that women's sumo from the 17th to the 19th centuries was a spectacle that capitalized on eroticism. By the Showa era, the nature of Onna-Zumo had changed dramatically. From here on, let me tell you a story based on a real person who symbolizes that transformation. In 1931, in Sendai, a young girl encountered Onna-Zumo. Her name was Shinobu Saito. She was still a 16-year-old student.
すごい！女相撲ってすごい！
Shinobu asked Ishikawa, a promoter of Onna-Zumo, to take her on as an apprentice.
どうか私を弟子にしてください。力士になりたいんです。
Ishikawa replied, "Young lady, your first priority is your studies. You mustn't cause your parents any worry." A few weeks later, she was riding a night train alone. Despite having been rejected by Ishikawa, she was determined to fulfill her dream of becoming a sumo wrestler. Moved by Shinobu's enthusiasm when she visited the inn where he was on tour, Ishikawa was finally persuaded to accept her as his apprentice. And so began Shinobu's training as a sumo wrestler. The foundation of sumo training is, first and foremost, strengthening the lower body. Running errands and preparing meals for everyone are also part of a new apprentice's duties. And then there's eating. Sumo is a combat sport with no weight limits or weight classes. Gaining weight quickly was also one of the duties of a rookie sumo wrestler. As soon as she made her debut, she kept winning. Cute and cheerful, she was deeply loved by the Japanese people of that time. On top of that, she was incredibly strong. Thanks to her natural talent and extraordinary dedication, she rose to the rank of Ozeki, the highest rank in women's sumo at the time, in less than 3 years. Around the time she rose to the top of the Onna-Zumo world, Japan was engaged in reckless wars with several countries. Even so, Onna-Zumo was beloved as one of the few forms of entertainment available during the war, but the situation was gradually becoming more dire. With major cities being bombed almost every night, it was no longer possible to hold performances. Ishikawa decided to disband the Onna-Zumo troupe. When he told Shinobu the news, far from being saddened, she encouraged him, saying, "Let's do Onna-Zumo again once peace returns." He couldn't help but tear up. And so, the war ended with Japan's unconditional surrender. Although the military's oppression had ended, for many Japanese people, the struggle to survive under the occupation had just begun. Shinobu, who had once held the prestigious title of top-ranked Onna-Zumo, was no exception. Various events unfolded in Shinobu's life. She met a man, they fell in love, and then she was betrayed by that man. Shinobu never returned to the world of Onna-Zumo. Even if she hadn't experienced pregnancy and childbirth, Shinobu probably wouldn't have been able to return to Onna-Zumo. This is because Onna-Zumo ceased to exist shortly after the war. The reason why Onna-Zumo, which had flourished before World War II, disappeared around the time of the war can be summed up in a word as the diversification of Japanese entertainment. If we focus specifically on women's combat sports events, women's professional wrestling began in the 1950s, modeled after the American version. However, compared to the popularity of pre-war Onna-Zumo, it was a modest undertaking. However, women's pro wrestling in Japan sparked an explosive boom in the late 1970s. Female wrestlers sang and danced before matches just like idols, and young people went wild for them. Just like Shinobu in 1931, young girls everywhere looked up to these female wrestlers. Let me tell you a bit about what became of Shinobu. Drawing on the culinary skills she honed during her training, she opened a small izakaya on the outskirts of town, and she raised her only daughter to be a fine young woman. An ordinary life, you say? Would you really call the life of a woman who once became a sumo champion ordinary? Well, our 1,500-year journey through Onna-Zumo comes to an end here. Thank you for watching this far. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Let's say goodbye with a song I wrote for this woman. See you in the next video.
Suitcase in her hand, leaving behind the lines of the promised land. She ran away under the pale moonlight to find a different kind of fighter light. No more ribbons, no more lace, just the dusty dreams of a sacred space. She's stepping in the circle, rising from the clay, sweat and silver tears washing yesterday away. A girl against the giants, a heart made of gold, breaking every story that the world had ever told. Oh, isn't she something stronger than she seems, dancing through the thunder of her sumo dreams. Morning stars watch her push against the wall, learning how to stand, learning how to fall. She found her own way through the salt and the sand. She worked through the grave, from a runaway child to a warrior's grace. You can see the destiny written on her face. She's stepping in the circle, rising from